in today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys fraction. All right, so we're going to be examining the concept of fractions. Don't forget, this is Master Class Academy, a platform where everything you need in academics is being taught. All right, now today we are going to be looking or examining the concept of fractions. Guys, what is a fraction? Now, a fraction is a part of a whole number expressed as one figure placed on top of another figure. Are you there? Yes, that is what a fraction is. A fraction is a part of a whole number expressed as a figure placed on top of another figure. It therefore means that a fraction is not a whole number but part of a whole number. Then also now, we want to understand that in fraction, what we just explained now is a number placed on top of another. This is an example of a fraction. So the one on top is called the numerator, and the one below is called the denominator. So this is a fraction. So anytime you have an expression of this or of this form, you know that you are dealing with a fraction. So a fraction is a part of a whole number expressed as one figure placed on top of another figure. And that's exactly what we have. We said the one on top is the numerator and the one beneath or below is the denominator. Now guys, what are the types of fractions? Guys, fraction is practically divided into two types. One of the type, if this is fraction, we have that fraction is divided into proper fraction. Then the second is what? Improper fractions. All right, guys. Now, these are the two major types of fractions. But this improper fraction is further divided into what we call the mixed fraction. All right, yes, we have what we call the mixed fraction. So guys, we have what we call proper fraction, we have what we call improper fraction, then we have what we call the whole number fraction, whole or mixed fraction. All right, now in this aspect of fraction, proper fractions are fractions where the numerator lesser than the denominator. In other words, the denominator is greater than the numerator. So this is an example of a proper fraction. 3 over 4, 10 over 21. These are examples of proper fraction where you have the numerator smaller than the denominator, or where you have the denominator bigger than the numerator. Then when we come to improper fraction, an improper fraction is an example of 2 over 3, 4 over 3, then 21 over 10 is a reverse of proper fraction. So in this case of improper fraction, we have the denominator lesser than the numerator. In other words, we have the numerator greater than the denominator. So when you have the numerator greater than the denominator, the end product is what we call the mixed fraction, what we call the whole number fraction. Are you there? Now, yes, that's what we call the whole fraction. In this case, what you do is to reduce an improper fraction to proper fraction, and to reduce an improper fraction to a proper fraction, you bet what we call a whole number. So if for instance I want to convert, so a whole number is an example of 1 over 2, then comma 1 3 over 2. This is a whole number. 1 over 3, this is a whole number. This is the whole number. Then maybe you have 4 whole number 2 over 5. These are examples of what? Mixed fractions. And in mixed fraction, you have a whole number and then a proper fraction together. Are you there? Yes. So this is what? A mixed fraction. So generally, these are the types of fractions. Guys, then the next aspect of this is that we have classes of fractions. This is what will enable you to solve problems on fractions effectively. Yes, guys, this is what we enable you. Now, listen carefully. The classes of fractions are divided into 3 classes of fraction. fractions are divided into 3 units. We have the simple fraction, then we have fractions, then we have the compound fractions, then finally we have what we call the complex fractions. Now guys, what do we mean when we say simple fraction? What do we mean when we say compound fraction? And what do we also mean when we say complex fraction? It's very simple. Now, a simple fraction is a fraction that is either termed an improper fraction or a proper fraction. For example, 2 over 3 or 5 over 2. These are examples of what simple fraction. Now, what are the possible questions you can see in simple fraction? You can be asked to check and see the highest fraction. You can be given series of fractions and you are asked to find the least value, the fraction with the least value, or the fraction with the greater value. That when you divide it, when you find this to a decimal place, the one with the least value or the one with the highest value. These are aspects of simple fraction. Now, when we come toward compound fraction, a compound fraction is a fraction whereby you have two different fractions connected with either multiplication, addition, subtraction, or division. Of course, you know that there are basic signs in mathematics, which is what? Plus, minus, multiplication, and division. All right? Yes, these are the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, in this case, when you have 2 over 3 plus 5 over 2, this is an example of compound fraction. Now, anytime you are given a compound fraction, you must reduce your compound fraction toward a simple fraction. This is where solving comes in. So when you have a compound fraction, you can be asked to simplify this. And anytime you are asked to simplify the compound fraction, you are indirectly asked to what? Reduce this to a fraction that we have just one numerator and one denominator. This is a simple fraction. A fraction that have one numerator and one denominator is a simple fraction, while a fraction that have two numerators and two denominators separated with what? Any of the mathematical basic sign is what we call compound fraction. So this is an example of compound fraction. Also 2 over 3 minus 5 over 2, or 2 over 3 times 5 over 2, or 2 over 3 times divided by 5 over 2. Guys, these are examples of compound fractions. So anytime you are given a compound fraction, you will simplify it to a point where you will have one numerator to one denominator. All right. Now, what about the complex fraction? Now, guys, this is where many students are having issue. This compound fraction is a fraction that connects different form of fractions. You can have multiple fractions, 2, 3, 4, 5 fractions. But here, they are connected with majorly almost all these 4 signs here. You see addition there in one question. You see multiplication in one question. You see addition in one question. You see subtraction in one question. Even you see brackets in one fraction. And this form of fraction can only be solved with the rule called BODMAS. Before, you have heard that word BODMAS before. Yes. So BODMAS is only used when you are dealing with complex fraction. And how does complex fraction question comes? You can have it as 2 over 3 plus 3 over 5 divided by 10 over 11. This is an example. So you see that you have a bracket, you have addition, you have division. All right. Now you can have it in multiple form, or you can have it as 2 over 3 divided by 3 over 5 minus 5 whole number 1 over 2. Just like that. So when you have numbers of fractions connected with almost the 4 signs, mathematical basic signs, plus, minus, multiplication, and division signs in one question, or brackets involved, off involved, this is an example of complex fractions. And guys, like I said earlier, complex fractions are solved effectively with the application of the rule called the BODMAS. BODMAS. Now, what does BODMAS mean, guys? BOD, B, stands for the word brackets. O stands for the word of. D stands for the word division. M stands for the word multiplication. A stands for the word addition and X stands for the word subtraction. Now, guys, you will not be able to solve complex fractions effectively without having the knowledge of this acronym called the BODMAS. Are you there? Yes, this word BODMAS is an acronym, and this is the meaning of the letters that forms this acronym. Are you there now? If I have a particular question, the first thing I must deal with is the bracket. Anytime I am dealing or you are dealing with a complex fraction, you start from the bracket, dealing with the components or the terms within the bracket. Are you there? Then you now have off. Off in the same way is same thing as multiplication sign. Are you there? Yes. So you also need to what? You also need to find off. O simply stands for off and is another word for multiplication. So when you have a fraction where off is present, you must treat off before you get to division. And afterwards, the next option you do is the division. So you must follow this sequentially. After you have treated the division, then you come to multiplication. So that means if I have division and multiplication all together in one question, I must first of all have to deal with the aspect that is connected with the division sign before I will now put the multiplication sign into consideration. But an attempt to first of all look into the multiplication sign, ignoring the division sign, or trying to take multiplication sign first and now take division sign later, you are not going to have the required answer. Please pay close attention. So understand that anytime you are solving complex fraction, this must be the profile that you must follow. So the first thing you do is to resolve the bracket, then work on the off if there is any, then work on division if there is any, work on multiplication if there is any, work on addition if there is any, and lastly we have subtraction. Please, all of these things cannot come in one question. You can have it, but they may not come. But understand that if I have bracket, division, addition, and this, I know what to do first. This is what the rules of BODMAS is. So guys, we are going to dive into solving problems, and don't hesitate to hit the subscription button and as well like. Then you can make your comment to areas you need more clarification and contribution. See you in the class where we'll be looking at problems and the very